Welcome to Let's Get on Brand, where we discuss how design can bring impact and value to your mission. So today we have my very own Pa, who is an executive pastor at Global Church. He's the founder of ICA, or Imagine Coaching Academy. He's a certified coach and he wears many hats. So today I would like to introduce him. So tell us a little more about yourself and what you're working on right now.
Thank you, Savvy. Well, a couple things are going on. I enjoy writing books, as you know. So every year I try to write at least 1 or 2 books per year. And with that, looking ahead at different training and coaching and consulting opportunities that come up. And as you know, with ICA, International Coaching Academy, I help people become certified coaches. They can become certified executive coaches, certified life coaches, or certified marriage coaches. And the idea is to help them develop new leadership skills that they can use to serve other people better. That's really the heart behind ICA.
Yeah, and actually I'm becoming a certified coach
That's
in
right.
your cohort here. So it's been really cool just watching you do all that and pursue all these different things. You're definitely an entrepreneur, and that's where I get it from as well. So if you're wondering why I am the way I am, here's my example. So Imagine Coaching Academy is one of your most recent ventures or projects. And this is the first time where I actually built out the brand for you. I've done lots of projects for you, from books to different flyers to different things. But I feel ICA was the first time we built out your brand. So why did you want to build out the brand for ICA this time?
I think one of the things I've learned over the years is, and even jokingly, people would say to me, you have way too much content and you need to be able to balance the content with design and with more practicality. And I think when we started looking at ICA, I said, okay, I want to do something from the start that's going to really be consistent. One of the challenges, as you know, in design is being consistent. And that wasn't my strength when it came to design. So when we started talking about ICA, I thought, well, if from the beginning we start with a consistent brand, then it was your job to keep me on brand because I get off brand. And I'm not great at colors. I have issues matching different colors. You know that. So part of it was a commitment from me to really say, okay, these are the colors. This is the brand. And I have to be consistent in everything I do, whether it's writing a book, giving a conference, doing a YouTube cast, whatever it is that I'm doing, I need to stay on brand. And so I realized for the first time how important brand was. And I really started understanding more with your help and also Brenda, just really helping me to understand why brand matters and how it serves to make your brand more consistent or your company more consistent in everything that it does.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say kind of, keeping you on track, and it's funny because this series is Let's Get on Brand.
Let's get on brand.
And I think I tell you all the time, stay on brand. And so it's important, because it, like you mentioned, it brings that consistency to your message. And when people see that, they think, okay, this is legit. This is professional. This isn't some random scam. It brings that sense of professionalism to your brand. Absolutely. But you definitely didn't always have that mindset.
No.
Your mindset before, you're great at writing content, great at producing content, and getting it out there. But the design wasn't always the forefront of your mind.
No. I think when I look back and my personality, my skill set, and really my background working in corporate America for so many years, a lot of it was content heavy, and it was famished when it came to design because the main thing was get as much information as you possibly could get on a PowerPoint slide or on a document. And really, or without even realizing it, that's how I developed these habits. It was through corporate America. But then when I started seeing companies like Apple and other well-known brands, and I started reading books about design and books about simplicity, I realized, okay, I'm providing a lot of content, and what I really need to do is scale back on the content or redistribute the content so that instead of producing, let's say, one video or one piece of literature. I can produce several, but make sure the design is really paramount to what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So yeah, it's been really an evolution, if you will, of design.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people out there, they're focused on the content, because the content is important.
Right.
But when it's presented visually confusing, it reads confusing. So design helps to kind of just help that be clear. Because at the end of the day, design is meant to simplify your message and amplify it, right?
Yeah.
So how has thinking of design at the beginning of your projects now, instead of at the end, helped you build and maintain that consistency across your brand and projects?
That's a really good question. I think for starters, this year I'm writing a book that'll be released in January called Your Life on Mission. And this book, I really made a commitment to begin with design in mind. Mm-hmm. So I'm writing it a lot slower because I'm using Canva and I'm using different tools and charts to really illustrate. And what I decided to do was to write about 60% copy. Mm-hmm. And as I'm writing it, I'm already thinking, okay, how am I going to visually demonstrate what I'm trying to reflect in this content? So it's been slow, and it's funny because it's more of a challenge for me, who I like to write fast and move quickly, but it really has slowed me down. And honestly, I think it's allowed me to think differently, not to mention when you're writing content, and mm-hmm. most of the content I do, I have to translate it into Spanish. So already I know Spanish content is going to be an additional 20%. Mm-hmm. So now I have to scale it back even more because I have to consider the Spanish content. I have to consider the present content and make sure I have enough white space. White space is my friend, but it hasn't always been my friend. And then I would say on the other side, on the ICA side, the video I recently created, Why Top Leaders Are Becoming Executive Coaches, mm-hmm. I really put a lot of time and effort into keeping that presentation simple and on brand. Mm-hmm. So I made sure I use, Montserrat as a font. I made sure I use simplicity in the content. I made sure I use good images and everything, which is projecting the brand. And one of the things that I thought about again most recently related to all of this is what I am communicating to people, whether they're reading my marriage skills book to help build their marriage, or they're going to read my Coaching Advantage book to become coaches. What I'm really doing is I'm building trust. Mm-hmm. And I think by me being more consistent, what I've learned is I'm building more trust with people because they see the consistency in the brand, in the content, in the messaging. And I didn't realize that before, but now I realize how design is so crucial in this entire process of building trust.
Yeah, perfectly said, because it's true. Yeah. If you start changing your fonts every time you put a graphic together, if you're using colors that are outside of your brand, which you've done before.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty. I remember looking at LinkedIn, and you're consistent on LinkedIn, and that's fantastic. And I remember seeing this graphic, brown, mint green, red. I was like,
it was hideous.
Immediately, I screenshot it, sent it to you, and it was like, what is this? These are not your brand colors.
You called me out.
I called you out because that consistency matters, right? And if
it really does.
Your colors are in the blues, we have some pops of yellow, brown, mint should not be anywhere near there.
Even when I got dressed this morning, I was going to wear black pants with my Imagine Coaching Academy shirt. And I said, no, I'm going to stay on brand. I need to wear gray pants. So you have infected me with this brand awareness.
I've been making you listen and
That's
focus.
Right. That's right.
No, and it's true that when even setting up something like this, right? When you think about your brand, And it's more than a logo. It's more than just, okay, I have this logo that I can throw on anything. When you really embody a brand, like you said, it builds trust, because now every time you show up, whether you're doing interviews, podcasts, or books, right? Everything has a consistent look. So if someone sees that, they say, hey, this is Marcel. This is Imagine Coaching Academy. So you're building that recognizability, and you're also building credibility in your brand.
That's right.
So how did having a clear brand identity for ICA change the way you talked about it and shared it with others?
Well, there are other coaching academies out there, right? I'm not the only one. That's obvious. But I think when it comes to communicating my message, I wanted to communicate to a business professional or someone that really has a heart to serve other people. And I think you remember we wrestled with the logo, and we were kind of back and forth, and you were even looking at some things, and I said, well, this is what I want. And it was a great exercise. But then finally, when you produced the logo, we both agreed, that's it. This is the logo. This is how we're going to build from there. And then we broke up the logo and talked about, okay, we're going to have one for the content. We're going to have another one for the courses and different things like that. And I think what's happened is it's given me greater confidence to really communicate who this academy is for. If you want to become an executive coach with a faith-based perspective, this is for you. If you want to become a life coach with a faith-based perspective, this is for you. If you want to become a marriage coach with a faith-based perspective, this is for you. So going back, and I know I'm using this again, going back to the trust factor, I want people to know they can feel confident if they begin this coaching program. I'm going to work with them one-on-one and in a group setting. And the idea is they're going to get exactly what has been said and stated from day one. This is a consistency factor again. And I think as I look at ICA in particular, I think what the brand has done, it's backed up everything I've already valued and envisioned for Imagine Coaching Academy.
Yeah, and you mentioned so many key things in your explanation there, because one, you're talking about your brand identity. So this is separate from your visual identity, though they go together. So your brand identity is who you're talking to. So how are you coming across? What's the voice behind this, right? So that brand identity is who you are. You mentioned values. So it's what your brand stands for. And then on the flip side is your visual identity. They go hand in hand, and you have to know who you're talking about to then build a visual identity.
That's
like you mentioned, we were wrestling back and forth because we're like, okay, we're targeting professionals, business professionals, executives. We're not targeting the mom and pop. We're not targeting the DIYer, right? Those people are great and can definitely benefit, but that wasn't your target audience. So when we had both those things playing together, your brand identity and your visual identity, like you mentioned, you showed up with more confidence, and people knew exactly who you're talking to. So they could look at your content and be, hey, this isn't for me. I'm not an executive. I'm not looking for coaching. Maybe that's not interesting, but you can almost weed out those who this isn't for, and that's okay.
Another thing that comes to mind as you say that is, and you bring up a really good point, because coaching and becoming a certified coach is not for everyone. And I think it's not for the person who has recently graduated from college. They're going to begin their career. It's not for them. It really isn't. It's really for the person who they are a lifelong learner, and they have taken courses. They may have a bachelor's, a master's degree, or they're just a voracious reader, and they've been to conferences, they've watched online webinars, but they are so committed to continuous growth that they want to partner with a company who's going to give them an experiential learning experience. That's the idea. They want to do something that is different. It's going to challenge them. One participant, for an example, she started with us, and she was so nervous about coaching and putting herself out there in front of people that I almost thought she was going to quit the program because she was so nervous. And part of this is encouraging them and saying, hey, just trust the process. I'm here with you. I'm going to walk with you through this process. And last night, we actually had one of our mentor coaching sessions, and she did great. She did fantastic. So it's really for that person who is looking to grow and take their leadership skills to a next level because they really want to empower more people. And what the brand does, you know, the visual, all of these things working together, what it does is it communicates that consistent trust, reliability. We're going to be with you to the end. And that's so important.
Yeah. And like you said, you've been able to build out a brand that then speaks exactly to who you want to serve. And you can see the result of just that consistency in your students, which is really cool. So in your experience, what would you say, what value has design brought to your business?
What value has design brought to my business? In a strange way, I think design has contributed to the integrity of my business. And there is no integrity without consistency. The actual word integrity means whole, complete. And when people are looking to partner with a university or with a training academy like mine, they want to know I can trust them, going back to that word trust, and they want to know what I'm reading is what I'm going to get. What is on the live webinar and the question and answers is what I'm going to get. Not this bait and switch, but they want to make an educated decision. And I think what my brand identity has done, and the whole package, I look at it as a whole package, right? I think what the whole package has done, it's allowed me to communicate the value of integrity and reliability. And that has helped people say, okay, I can trust you. The content is good. And at the end, I already know what the outcome's going to be as long as I finish the program. Yeah. That's it. So yeah, I would say integrity.
That's awesome. And like you mentioned, that goes hand in hand with consistency, building trust, all of that helps to build that integrity around your brand, and it's trustworthy. Yeah. So that's fantastic. And I feel like you've come such a long way from when we first started.
Indeed.
Indeed. And looking at even your old material and things that you've done in the past, even I know you've mentioned like going back and refreshing things. So it's been really cool to see how that progress has been made just because you gained more knowledge around branding and design.
And here's a bonus. I want to tell you a bonus of design. So one of the bonuses about an entrepreneur like myself, learning more about design and branding is in the past, I would fill up, for an example, my slides with content. That was the norm. But now what I'm finding is design has allowed me to be clearer in what I'm trying to communicate. So instead of having 20 points on a slide, I may have 3, let's say, as an example at the most. And even in this last presentation I did, I actually have 1, and I'll have an image, or I'll have just the logo below. And what this design process has done for me is it's allowed me to really communicate from the heart more than trying to script everything. And I've seen a difference in me, and I'm more fluid, I'm more comfortable, I'm more confident, because the content I know. The content, I know that like the back of my hand, but it's the design aspect that really, it almost pulls somebody in. They're curious about, well, what do you mean by this? What do you say? What does this represent? And I think what the design has done is it's allowed me to express myself more freely than even in the past. So that's a bonus.
No, I mean, well said. And you are not the only one who's felt this way, where maybe they struggle to communicate their message, but yet through design, like you mentioned, and learning that you can communicate your message in a way that people can absorb. Because for you, a packed slide might be no big problem. If I see that, super overwhelmed.
You have a heart attack.
I'm like, I'm not even reading at this point.
That's right.
So it's true. Design can just simplify your message, but give it more impact.
Yeah.
So Thank you so much, Pa, for
My
joining
pleasure.
me.
My
As
pleasure.
always, my first interviewee, my first client, my first everything. And I know you've always believed in me, and I take
right.
on your entrepreneurial endeavors as well and your spirit.
That's right.
So if you want to learn more about Imagine Coaching Academy, you can find him and his content online at imaginecoachingacademy.com/executive. So you can get a fun little webinar in there too, if you're interested in the content that he's mentioned. So this is Let's Get on Brand, where we help your mission be amplified through design. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can comment below or shout out and give me an email, give me a phone call, anything. But thank you. Woo!
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good job,
we
baby.
did it, Pa.
That was fun.